Welcome to Box Talks by Bulu. My name is Paul Jarrett, and with me I have the one and only
Stephanie Jarrett.
Wrong, Nicole Bauer. Hey, got her.
One up by Nicole.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Stephanie, you're the real queen, so.
Take that and shove it in your
sense.
intro, right? No, that was intended for you. That was the setup and the punch right there. It was good. It's pretty good though, right? Yeah. Also, now that we have children, I feel like that's something our 4-year-old would have did.
I can see Hilo doing that already.
I know, right?
And now I know exactly where he gets it.
Yeah.
Not that there was ever any question.
Whatever, poopy mommy. Okay, so we have today, why don't you, since I've already rattled on and I will talk plenty, let's have you introduce our fantastic, amazing guest today.
Yeah. So Bulu has been offering turnkey subscription box solutions for 3 going on 4 years now. And private label subscription box solutions. We say it a couple different ways, but
technically it's turnkey, but people say private labels, so we just you're technically correct.
Yes, we have the position that we call it in Bulu is a program manager, and that's the individual who kind of oversees the subscription box program and all of the kind of like cross-functional departments and vendors and things needed to make that subscription happen month after month or whatever the cycle may be. And when we first started doing this,
justify the position
it doesn't
at all.
When we first started this, Nicole Bauer, who's with us today, was our very first program manager for our very first private label subscription box client.
I haven't thought about it like that.
And now she's our director of program services, so she oversees all of our program managers and now what we call account managers and that whole team. So we're really excited to have you here, Nicole. Thank you for being here.
Nicole,
virtually.
Look at us. I remember the interviews like yesterday, and I don't have a very good memory, but look at us now.
Look what you made me do.
You have bangs now.
I would be so bold to say as look what you didn't let me not get away with, because there was no way in holy hell Nicole was not getting this job, and that is it was amazing. All the credit. I feel like we could talk about that for a little bit, because I think that's like a huge leading indicator and like the type of person you want leading an account. Yeah. Right? I feel like that's pretty relevant.
Yeah.
Nicole, do you want me to start, or do you want to start about, the whole process? I feel like I could tee it up and then maybe you could fill in the blanks, or if you're ready, you could rock off on it, but.
I think you have a clear idea of what you're wanting to touch on, and that's not quite so clear to me at this point in time. Perfect. So why don't you start?
I got this. So when we decided to start doing the private label subscription box thing, of course, like our first client was massive, it's like, we know how to do this, which we did.
Sink or swim, let's just jump right in.
We did know how to do it, but we just hadn't, to your point, we hadn't done it for anybody to that point, up to that point. And so we put out this massive search, and it was like one of the first times where we're like, look, we know what we're doing. We know the process. We are going to interview. We are going to hire a recruiting. We're going to do everything. We're going to find a true hardcore 30 years of experience project manager, blue chip. The price doesn't matter, et cetera, right? So that's like what we set out to do. There was, I forget the numbers, but I want to say it was either 400 or 600 applicants. There was X amount that we looked at. I know that it was an absurd amount of interviews that we did. I want to say it was over 100, whether it was just phone call or whatever it was. I mean, it was far and away the most that we've ever searched for a position to this day, because now we have the luxury of like, we're looking for something and we can kind of like, we have a little bit of history, but at that time, like, we were at this awkward position where like we had to go hunt hard and take in a lot of applicants and whatever. So we get it down to like 5 people, I think, right? And it is 4 very experienced, very traditional, like check all the boxes. And I always throw in what I call of like there's like a wild card. They're just, I don't know, like if you got a set of 5 cards, there's always got to be like your wild card. Everybody's like, wild card, bitches. And so, that was
I swear
the
this
case.
is going to be a compliment, Nicole.
Yeah.
No,
well, I think
I've heard this story before.
yeah. And so then somehow it got down to 3. And, I remember you reached out to me and you did a really good job. Your cadence was like, I think every week checking in or whatever it was. And all these little things add up, like the things that are like a thank you card, like all of those little things add up. And they are things that not necessarily all the other candidates were doing. And then you straight face said this to me at the coffee house. You said, am I going to get this job the way it stands now? And I was like, no. And you're like, okay, why? And I was like, I'm just going to be straight with you. Like, you just don't have the experience. And you were like, okay. And we had a conversation or whatever. And then you said another meeting. And I remember I was like, man, this this girl, what is this? Why are we still meeting? Like, whatever. But I respect the hustle and I respect that you were doing all of the things, right? And we met up and you had some sort of like, I don't even recall exactly what it was, but it was like a project management completion course. It might've been like a YouTube 5-minute video thing or whatever. That wasn't the point. The point was like, I was able to tell you where the shortcoming was. And you went out and solved it within a less than 2-week time frame. And I was like, whatever that is, I want that. We need that, right? Yeah. And to this day, when I talk with our leadership team, which Nicole is now on our leadership team, I often say, I don't think I've ever met anybody that you can provide feedback to and they actually change, but they actually change it like really quickly. And that's absurd to me. And that's why, you've had such an amazing impact on this company. I mean, you've really come into your own. The pandemic, I don't know, you thrive in the chaos or whatever it is. But I mean, every year you're making leaps and bounds. And, like I remember when you joined the leadership team, I think my advice was like, just be Nicole. Don't be what you think you should be or don't, whatever. Just you've earned it. There's nothing more to do. And before that, I mean, how many conversations did we have where there was frustration where it's like, am I ever going to get there? I've waited my turn and it's all just a matter of aligning. But that little thing in the beginning of being able to take the feedback, to correct it and to move on and like not hold it against me or anybody else. I'm like, we need that. And that time and time again has proved awesome. So hats off to you. And
Nicole, does that align with your memory of your interview process?
Yeah, I can add a couple of details. I think my first email was make me your kick-ass project manager, I think was the subject line. And I had a couple people who had told me about the job posting. It came at a very fortuitous time. I was coming off like I just finished my master's program, but then I had a loss in my family. So I'd spent a couple months dealing with family stuff and was unemployed. And I think I started my job search October 1st. And all my interactions with you took place in October, and I started working for you on Halloween, which was interesting.
And you showed up in costume, which is how I knew. I was like, she's going to fit in just fine.
She's going to be
fine. I didn't know.
Shows up in costume on her first day.
Rosie the Riveter, pretty casual. So I figure if anything, she showed I had work ethic.
There you go.
Did not know what I was walking into that day. And I do remember writing thank you notes. I wrote one for everyone who interviewed me, and I wrote one for Adam, who I was told in one of our conversations with Paul that
bleep.
He didn't think I had the chops. And so I wrote him on a brown paper bag. I said, what did I say? I party like a pirate, but I work like a captain or something like that. And I had a bottle of Captain Morgan inside. Oh. And I dropped that off.
Easy W. Easy W for Adam.
How to win the favor of Adam Choate.
I've since learned that is not his
drink of choice.
Drink of choice, but at the moment that was what I had been told was. So
Yep.
and then I did. I took I think it was like Coursera or one of those online
Yep.
like knowledge share websites, and did take a little project management training. And I also studied up on Asana because you had mentioned that was a tool that you all were using. And I think for me, more than anything, I had worked at a lot of different places in my short amount of time, and I was drawn to the company culture at Bulu. And that was something that I wasn't willing to sacrifice on or compromise on. And so I was willing to do anything just because I know it's rare. What I saw was rare. And I knew that doesn't just happen by mistake, and that I wasn't just going to stumble into any easy job. And so thank you. Thanks for letting me join the team.
Thank you. I will say, maybe because she's in the room, I will say that still the award for one individual best interview ever will go to Mariah. But as far as like the series and fighting your way and not accepting no for an answer, definitely goes to you.
I would say the definitely like overcoming the odds goes to Nicole, because there were on paper more qualified candidates.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Nicole
But
just impressed us so much, like you said, like whatever it is that she's got, that kind of like X factor, like we just need that person on our team.
But now on paper, like by the sheer numbers, not even by the like specifics of your position, but just like by what you've done from 0 to millions, you would blow those candidates out of the water.
Well, now she's the one with the experience.
Yeah, but it's like, even if you weren't, like if you were applying somewhere else with another job, like your numbers and your experience would just nuke them. So that's cool. Sorry, other candidates, I still love you. So when you hear these things, as far as project management goes, which again, I think at our company that it doesn't do that's not a great justification of the title. It's almost like, in-house entrepreneur is probably like a better word, right, for that, because
they're like we've used mini CEO.
Yeah,
and that is a little bit what it's like. They're running an entire box program in collaboration with our clients, our partners.
And there's no existing thing, right? Like
generally, we're creating a box where there was not.
I have this idea
before. Yeah,
we want to do a box, and then you take it and you build it. So. What have you seen, or this is out to both of you, but what have you seen in your, since we're using the term project management,
program manager,
program manager. I'm sorry, but is project management a very good? It's
similar, right? Yeah. What most companies traditionally would think of as a project manager is pretty similar. We call it a program manager because we refer to subscription boxes as a subscription box program.
It's like a project
and they're recurring,
manager.
Unlike a project. Typically projects have ends,
have a beginning and an end. A program is
So
indefinite.
It's like a relentless project manager is what the world would know it as, but like the true essence of it would be like a mini CEO managing a program.
There you go.
So anyway, for that position, what do you two think are some of the like key characteristics that person has to have in order to be successful? Just like 1 to 3 of them.
Well, as you know, I come prepared with my notes, and while we haven't coordinated,
was there notes for this thing?
There wasn't. No. These are, and I was trying to anticipate your needs, which is one of the characteristics that a program manager has to be able to do. Some of the things I wrote down was like a sense of urgency, and it's not like an urgency around the world is falling, everything's going bad, I need to freak out. That's not that kind of urgency. It's just taking initiative and acting like you give a crap. And so because in a lot of cases, things die or fail to make progress because no one's there to shepherd it through. And that is a lot of what the program manager is responsible for. And along
I was going to say, I had when I worked in New York City at an ad agency, our CEO, which believe it or not, I was a project manager at one time, whatever those titles were. He said the best project program managers, account directors operate with a healthy paranoia. And I thought that was a good way of saying it, but it's really easy to let that healthy paranoia get out of whack.
And probably the three other things I would say that are really important are clear communication. You're talking across teams. You need to be able to write emails succinctly and clearly without causing confusion, have phone calls, follow up, document things. Organization is the second. And then finally, the ability to influence others and inspire collaboration. A lot of times there's stakeholders involved that don't really want to work. And so you have to meet them where they're at, figure out what their needs are, and then figure out how you can find that win-win outcome.
Yeah. What did you say?
I think Nicole has one hell of a list.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things you put on your list, I would have put the exact same things.
Yeah. Can I add some? Go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to add some personality color, which I'm curious if you two will agree with this.
All right.
Right. So I think from a technical element or skill set, you absolutely nailed it. Here is something that I've seen, and y'all know, like, I'm a big fan of personality profiling, and there's, Myers-Briggs, et cetera. I'm really hot on Crystal Nose or Crystal.com. I think it's crystalnose.com or Crystal. Not like this nose, but like nose. This nose, not this nose. And one thing that I've definitely noticed, and whether it's internal or external, Crystal Nose would qualify these people as like captains or drivers, maybe initiators, but kind of captains and drivers is the real kind of characteristic. And it's a failure that I watch a lot of other entrepreneurs make, and I know that I have done it. And I think because Nicole and I communicated incredibly well during the interview process, like I kind of like overlooked it or whatever, but it's this thing where when you interview, and this is maybe a message for all my entrepreneurs or subscription box owners or, out there, when you interview and you happen to interview a really good project manager, which tends to be like a captain or a driver, they're like a take charge person, which that is Nicole. She is a take charge person, which we love. You hear this, and this has happened to us before. They say, I just don't know if they'll fit our culture. And you're like, let's unpack that for a second. Like, what does that mean? Right. And it's a lot of times a founder. And they're like, well, I don't know, like we're, this way or this way or this way. And as you unpack it, what you really come to understand is that person interviewing or the entrepreneur is saying like, I'm intimidated by them because they're either going to like, they have confidence and they're going to take the lead, or they are just smarter or more, their skill set is beyond me at a certain point. And even some of the other employees have that, and that false narrative, that fear is so obvious to me now. And I have made that mistake, and there's things I wish I could redo or whatever. But, for anybody that's listening now, I think that if you interview somebody or your employees do or whatever, and you start to hear that narrative of like, I don't think they'll fit the culture, you really need to unpack that. Like, is that true? What are they trying to say? Because the reality is, as Tina Fey, bossy pants is, hire talented people and get the hell out of the way. Also, you need to hire people that are just better than you, smarter than you, more
people you could see yourself working for someday.
I think that is the number one, screw Mark Zuckerberg, but he nailed it when he said, hire people that you can see yourself working for. I think he said that one day.
No, also, I just said that.
Huh? Also, it's a really good backup plan. Like if your company fails, hire people that will hire you somewhere else, right? No, but that I think is a really good rule of thumb. But I think that's a big important. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, Nicole. Mostly because I saw you go like smile, like yes. So do you feel that has any truth to it?
Totally. And so I, like you, also take an interest in personality assessment. Literally sitting here on my next to my desk is a folder full of personality assessments that I have taken, because that's like, if I only have one hobby and that's it.
You could pass for a
That's not
secret
true.
spy
You have many
right
hobbies.
now.
I happen to know.
Yeah, you are a spy.
But
I know you are.
I'm
You're a
social.
spy.
I like to do other things, but like I don't have like a hobby, but taking personality assessments is important to me, because I'm all about like that self-awareness and that self-growth, and they think they can be insightful. I do think there's a risk of boxing yourself in and inhibiting personal development
100%,
by like
100%.
locking in. That said, I, fully know that I'm a commander, a driver, a captain.
Take charge.
Take your pick. And the number of times in my life where I've been told, wow, you're intense. Like that used to be something that would hurt my feelings. And now I recognize it as something that like is more of a reflection of that person than it is of me. And I think, thank you for like recognizing that. And like, because to your point, is it really that a culture fit, or is it an intimidation factor? Because what the two of you have been able to do is you've harnessed my intensity to now amplify your company culture. And I'm part of your unofficial welcome wagon when we have new employees. And I help you promote our company culture and reinforce it, throughout the company.
And I would just add that an even added layer as another person who is like probably a captain and a doer, maybe to lesser degrees than some of the other people on here. But the added layer of being a woman who is intense.
You stole it. I was going to bring that up.
It's different, right? Men, that's like perceived oftentimes as a good quality. Women, it's just like, oh, she's just going to be bossy and she's going to be tough, like all that type of stuff that goes around with it. Yeah, and it's just so an added layer of being able to like harness that and,
I will say though,
get people to like rally around it, right?
I do think there is very real instances where there is still a latent sexism involved, but luckily for me, I have navigated that and it never has been too detrimental. I can think of a handful of experiences where like strategically I let, maybe a male colleague send an email because I think it'll be received better, and that's fine. Like, I'm not going to lose any sleep over any of that. But luckily, I think in addition to having that take action, which I think is really that sense of urgency, that taking initiative, I do it with others in mind and wanting to come up with like a win-win solution. So I think if you talk to any of my clients and that I work with, they'll tell you that they enjoy working with me and that it's fun. And
oh, absolutely.
I'm not scary.
I'm not scary, goddammit. No, definitely not. And I think that it is that thing where like, all right, let's be real. Like it is harder for women than men. And when you said like intense, I'm like, oh man, like people are like, oh yeah, he's intense. Like it's like even the tone and the way that it's said, right?
Yeah.
And it is the reality that like not everybody's perfect. I'm sure I have, I'm sure you have. And, but being aware and, hopefully being in a company that's like somewhat woke, is that what the kids say? But it's like,
we don't know how to use that term.
Yeah. But like, that's like nothing changes quickly. And like, the annoying thing I think for me is when we have to work with the outside world and you do run into these like traditional companies that like they look at me and I'm like, no, like Stephanie has the answer, and they're like giant white guy CEO, like and I'm like, and they literally like she'll answer and they'll look at me and I'm like, oh God, I would punch him if I were her.
Yeah. So what is it program managers actually do at Bulu? And then, share with us a little bit about like when it comes to an actual subscription box, what's different compared to say like a project manager.
Realize like, technically your bosses are like live on the air. What is it that you do every day?
Well, I know what you do every day. I'm just letting you share.
But just like this, what is it? It's like the two Bobs in office.
And that's not true. I don't know everything you do.
I know it's too much to say in one sitting, so maybe like a top level. So,
so like in one sentence, what I do is I get things done, period. And what that looks like, it's about balancing and going back and forth between the strategic and the tactical aspects of making progress, delivering results, and building relationships. I like to say, like, I don't do much, but I run around between all the different teams and all the different stakeholders and talk with them about what's going on, what they need, what's missing, what needs to happen next, and then communicate that to everybody else. Yeah. So, Paul, since I met you, you have used the metaphor of like a wheel and its spokes. And that the project manager is at the center of that. And so you're facilitating all of that cross-functional, interdependent collaboration.
Yep.
And another way, like more comically, it feels like I'm a cat herder or a plate spinner or I'm juggling and trying to keep everything afloat.
Yeah, that's, I think, a great way of putting it. And here's the kicker of like, you might not physically do a lot of the actual work, but the irony of like you're held accountable to everything, which is like, so that's like where all the stress and frustration comes from, right? And that is absolutely a skill set, and it's impressive to watch, and it's impressive when you see the diagrams and charts and you're like, I don't even know what that means anymore. It's like we built this thing and I don't even know what at the level that we're at. So I do want to say that we did have, let's see here, a couple of comments. First of all, hi, Kelsey. We love you. Good to see you. We had Veronica say, especially true in the field with experience in engineering and medical. So that's probably like.
Veronica's my sister.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Nice.
Is she in engineering and medical?
She is one of those bright stars that has 2 degrees. She has an engineering degree, and then she went back to school and got a nursing degree and works in NICU, her and her husband. So they're on the front lines right now fighting COVID.
Oh.
Wow.
Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you, Veronica. My brother's
and Veronica's husband.
Yes, my brother's a pulmonologist. So I know we hear the story. So thank you very much. We truly appreciate you. We also have Kelsey. Nicole is the Olivia Pope in getting it handled. If Kelsey chooses to pass that torch on.
Okay, so Nicole, you mentioned earlier that like one of the things a program manager, a mini CEO needs to be is organized. And managing a subscription box in and out is relentless. Every month, you're essentially managing the process of creating a new product, month in, month out. And then
it's
all
like
of the
a new
things,
magazine every month with
managing
physical
all the
products.
things that go around that, right? You've got to like get that product into marketing. You've got to get it onto the site. You've got to like manage the logistics of the product.
And you don't just do one, you have multiple.
Get the shipping, get it shipped out, like all of that stuff.
You need a raise. Go yell at your boss.
The program manager is the like center nucleus of all that stuff. So what is it that program managers at Bulu use to keep everything organized? Systems, softwares, anything. Can you share a few like tips or secrets?
Yes. Really quick, I think one thing that like is important to understand is to be especially at Bulu and especially working on various subscription box programs and fulfillment, a program manager really has to have fairly decent business acumen, or at minimum, the ability to learn very quickly the fundamentals of business. Because essentially at Bulu, we don't do anything unless it makes financial sense. Yeah. And that was probably like when you first hired me, the biggest part of the wild card factor is I did not have I think I had a ton of experience in project management and leadership and professional stuff. But what I was missing was that business acumen.
Hey, me too.
Luckily, you can learn it if you're willing to. And you guys have done a great job of cultivating that amongst your entire team at Bulu. And we take a lot of time at Bulu to make sure everybody understands how their seat contributes to the bottom line.
Yeah.
So for running a program, like really a project manager has to understand everything from sourcing to like manufacturing, marketing, sales,
shipping.
shipping, and
logistics,
and then all the way down to like customer service, and then feedback, and that closing that loop, and financials, accounting, all those basic, really fundamental stuff. And so that has to, I don't say it has to be in place from day one, but you have to be able to understand that there's a bigger picture that's part of that strategic versus tactical, where the project manager has to both sustain a vision and a direction and a strategy at the macro level, but then be able to focus on the details at the micro level to make progress on things. And at Bulu, we use primarily Google Suite and Asana as our...
Go to asana.com/Bulu.
I know, we need to start like earning referrals or some sort of commission.
50% off.
Yeah.
As our main tools that we use to collaborate. But then, each of our clients has their own tools and stuff. So it's up to the project manager to kind of build a specific tool belt for our clients.
Yeah. I often pull up some of the documents where we list all the softwares that we use, and I'm like, this is insane. But it's also, it's funny because we were we were really early to do that. Like when we started back in 2012, 2013, I remember just catching holy hell from developers, from everybody else for using apps and using Shopify and Magento was like, I was speaking like tongues. Like it was like, that's the devil. Like, what are you doing? You got to build it. And we were just like, that's stupid. It's 99-cent app. Like, let's do it that way. And the irony now, like within the last year or so, it's like I was actually talking to somebody recently, and he was like, why would you ever build it? That's stupid. Just use Shopify. And I was like, oh my God, I remember when I used to argue. And it's like the same kind of like startup entrepreneurial group that in 2012 was like arguing, you need to build it, you need to do whatever. That same, like, not the same person, but the same group now in 2021, holy hell, is like mocking that level of thinking. And I remember so long thinking like, is this dumb? We're even using like Asana, or we're using like Gmail. Like, do we need to be on like Microsoft CRM or whatever the hell that is, and you're just like, so that's like a whole nother level for project managers. But I'll also say that huge advantage in like, if you don't understand how to do something, it's like go Google G Suite, go Google Asana. Like that's your training. Like, that's like the number one thing at Bulu you need to learn is like, how do I Google shit to fix it or figure it out? And I still love, and we will have this when we get back to the office. If you can't figure out how to use our printer in our office, you should not be working at our company. You are not smart enough to work here. Which I think the irony is in 10 years, like one time I did have an issue. I was like, I really can't figure this out. But it is, that's the test. I love when people come on, and I think you actually came in early and set up your desk and you got like the Wi-Fi password. But like one of my rule of thumbs is when somebody comes in, I am counting off the hours or the minutes before they ask for the Wi-Fi password. Because the longer that they wait to ask for that is the indication of like how fast they're going to get done. The next thing is I love to like bring people in, and if they don't have a desk set up, like we're like, oh, your desk is in the closet, and they physically have to go set it up. And if they just do it and set it up, we're like, that person's going to be fine. But if they look at you like you're insane, you're like, okay, we're gonna struggle here, because it isn't about setting up your desk and building a $20 IKEA desk. It's about, are you just gonna do it and shut your lips? And then the last one is just like the passwords to the software or whatever. So the best people, we made a recent hire, and he every weekend he's like sending me articles about, did you know this about this software and this? And I'm like, okay, he's gonna be fine because he's learning it in his own time. So. Yeah. So that's another pro tip for people that make hires out there, and not the rule for everything, but they're just little things that you want to like watch out for.
Yeah. So I think another interesting thing about a program manager or an account manager or anything like that is, and this is the difference between kind of like maybe an entry level account person and a more seasoned one, is how well they can handle like issue mitigation and being able to communicate and have tough conversations with the client when things go wrong.
Yep.
And inevitably they do. Like, we're trying to procure an item for a box and it's coming from China and it got stuck in the port because there's a pandemic.
Concrete now.
Or
ding,
something.
Ding, ding.
So I'm curious, Nicole, if you could have one or two examples that you might be able to share where things didn't go right for one reason or another, and how you might have helped solve it. And this can be you or anyone from your team, some sort of issue mitigation and how we can tackle those things.
Yeah, this was one of the painful lessons I learned quickly and early on at Bulu. I made the mistake of where I personally value highly transparency. I made the mistake of misapplying that personal value in a way that undercut my mission critical role of inspiring confidence and solving problems for the client. So
I remember when you used to do that. I remember this. I totally forgot. Because I did the same thing at our company. I'd share everything with everybody, and I didn't know it'd panic the shit out of them.
That's a really good topic because
that is good. I forgot
what's
you used
the
to
right
do that.
balance, right? Of sharing what needs to be shared and not burdening our clients and our partners with things they don't need to worry about.
If you hadn't have fixed that, you would have been you would have been screwed. That's a really good one.
In my first year, and Paul, you took me on a walk around the block, and we sat on a bench, and you
Did I do that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, great manager. Tell me
what
more.
outfit I was wearing that day, or at least what shirt, and that lesson really sunk in. And since then, I don't think I've made that mistake again. So
yeah. Well, hopefully I was appropriate in how I managed it and correct or whatever. But it was probably a lot because I was either going through it myself or I had just been through it because I highly value that too. But as time has gone on with the company, you realize there's certain things. I always say there's no need to share. What I actually found out it was for me was I'm giving information to people to actually lower the burden and stress on my shoulders because it felt better to share it. And it took me a while to figure out why I was doing that. But then all of a sudden I'm sharing things that, our poor intern can have, or a brand new person that's hired can have zero impact on. And, it's only a 10% chance of a bad thing might happen, but it's their first experience. So they're well, shit, are we going to raise money? Are we going to run out of capital? What's going to happen? What did he just mean? He just dropped this bomb and walked off, and then you finally come to realize okay, I need to be respectful of what I share when I share it. And that's a really good one.
Because sometimes, you are taking the monkey off of your shoulder and putting it on their shoulder sometimes when you don't need to, right? We can just solve it for them. And it's done. Or
to your point, you really value it and you see value, but
right.
Yeah, that's really good.
And it's not that it's a bad thing. No. I think specifically in my case, I just overshared, and then it brought up more questions and more doubts from our client at the time. And then there was even more explaining that had to be done to get them to feel secure again with moving forward. And so it's now I still hold the value of transparency, but I take it, with me anyway, you can count on the fact that I'm not deceiving you, but I'm also try and put myself in my client's shoes. I try to protect them. I try to make sure that they have what they need. And then honestly, I'm just going to solve it. And they don't really need to know, like you were saying, Stephanie, that there was an issue. We just took care of it for them. And that's why they hired us in the first place, was to solve those problems for them and not have it become a headache for them.
Yeah. And the other thing I really love about our team is, and everyone practices this no matter what seat they're in. But when there is an issue and it is something that we need to bring to our partners, our clients, and make them aware of it, we never just bring them the issue and say, okay, now what? We always bring at least one solution, preferably up to 3. So we've identified this problem.
Yeah.
And hey, we've already got 3 solutions. This is our recommendation. How would you like to proceed?
Or at least the start to a solution. Like,
right.
We always say 1 problem, 3 solutions. 1 that's probably good, fast, and cheap, right? Like those are,
And that is probably 90% of what I do every day is somebody's raising an issue and I'm coming up with those, okay, these are your 3 options, pick one and we'll move forward with that. And then somebody else comes up with another issue and that's just what you do all day.
So you're like a press secretary in the sense for that.
A little bit.
Yeah.
There's some PR in there.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it was a mistake, but then also like, what do we do? Which Stephanie brought up. It's the 1 problem, 3 solutions, and then good, fast, and cheap.
Yeah, it's always mind blowing to me that people don't take the time to empathize or put yourself in their shoes, right? Because so many times I see people like, there's something happens, and they're like, come to me and they're like, and they're going like 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I'm like, wait, okay, but wait, no, I took care of that. And I'm just sitting there like trying to keep up with them. And then I'm like, wait, like, hold on. Like, what do you think that you should do? And they go, well, this. And I'm like, that makes sense to me. Okay, now if you're in their shoes, what do you think they would want? And then they're like, well, probably what I said with this variation. I'm like, okay, so do that. And people are like, what? Like, what's the right answer? And you're like, the right answer is like what you have the most confidence in, and also what is the correct answer for them, right? Like, what's the best answer for all parties? Like, there's no right or wrong answer. And so many people, I will go to the effing grave saying this. So many people, I'll tell you the difference between like me as a CEO and 99% of people out there. The only difference is like, I just go, yeah, we're doing that. Let's go. That's the difference. Like, I don't know, like, and then by doing that over time, you do develop a skill set, you do develop an understanding, you do get 1% better. But like, until you start to say like, I select this, but I could go probably to anybody in this building, and I bet 99% of them, if I gave them a problem and said, how would you solve it? Almost everybody would have the same solution. It's just their approach would be kind of like a little bit different, or they would develop it, whatever. And you just say,
to get there is
you just say, okay, stop.
Different.
Like, is that what you want to do? And even the last kind of rant of that is like, everybody always asks me like, how do you start a business? And, there's a plan, and there's a this, and there's a that. And like, it's funny, but like, people ask me, and I say like, it's like a logo and a name in my head. And they're like, what? I'm like, that's how I do it. Right. And then the next part is like, it has to have a problem. And then, or it's like a problem, a logo, like a visual and a name. And for me, what that does is it kind of like mentally plants the seed of like, okay, there's this problem. I want to give, I don't know what the solution is, but I'm going to give like the solution a name and a little like purple circle logo, right? and that's how, you guys have seen me name shit all the time, like, Swan or Goose or like whatever. And it's like project whatever. And I'm like, that's me just letting my brain work through something. Other people are like, I need a financial plan. So like, the answer to how do you start a business is, I don't know, what do you think you should do? Do that, right? And then you slowly chip away, because the same set of things, and whether it's a subscription box, like it's the same thing when you launch a program. It's like, there's nothing there. We do have a proprietary step-by-step, but everybody's like, how did you do that? We're like, I don't know. We asked them.
Well, the first time we didn't know.
That's what I'm saying.
But then the second time we knew more.
Yes.
And then the third time we knew even more. And now we've done it 16 times.
Yes.
And we've got, like, we know it like the back of our hand.
And now we know, like, the first part is like, what is your goal? And then the question of, what gets me a high five from you 1 year from now, right?
Yeah.
And then you just get these sets of questions and then the process and then the whatever. But like, my point is like, there's nothing that separates most people from that solution of getting there. It's just like, I guess somebody once said that what an entrepreneur is somebody that steps out of the shower and actually writes down what they were thinking on a piece of paper and does it. That's what an actual entrepreneur is. Sorry, that's my rant of like, you.
Yeah, I don't know where we got there.
If this idiot can do it, like, so can you.
Yeah.
Right?
Everything is figure outable.
Yes. Wait, we got some more. Hold on, Nicole. Oh, wait, hold on. Awesome advice for account exec. Thanks, Tristan. You really got the female crowd going. I'm digging it. Good job.
Thanks, ladies.
All right.
Who wins the world?
Okay.
Girls.
Do we have, there you go. Good, because we fucked it up. With precaution of legal whatever ramifications or with this, be cautious in what you say. And if you're not sure, I think I can kind of, help fill in like we can or can't say that. And I don't have anything in mind specifically. This is why I'm excited right now. What is the craziest shit that's ever gone down at our company that you've witnessed with a client internally? What is just the thing where you had the moment where you're like, oh my.
Stephanie's like, Paul, why did you ask that question? Okay, let's move forward with this.
So you can walk into it, and if it's like, I'll give you but whatever.
One of the things our program managers have to do is, they have to be diplomatic and they have to navigate awkward situations and they have to kind of manage a little bit, like you were saying, a PR relationship. So I'm going to nod and smile your question and completely ignore it and change topics and answer a different question that I have prepared, which is, what do I love about being a program manager?
Answer the question you wish was asked. So what do you love about being a program? Oh, wait, hold on. No, yeah. What do you love about being a program manager?
One of the things I love most about being a program manager, particularly at Bulu, is that no 2 days are exactly the same. Yeah. So I have had days where my job was to go golfing and to schmooze with our clientele. And I have had days
what you did there.
Where I am climbing into dumpsters and throwing years and years of accumulated crap out, and
driving 15 hours in a snowstorm.
Driving 15 hours in a snowstorm, writing decks. Let's see. There was one. Writing. What are some other fun days? Oh, helping on photo shoots, like directing shot lists. And I love that. You
putting your arms behind mine, being my fake arms.
Yeah. We have a lot of fun doing the work that we do. And I think that's why our partners like us and they refer us to their team. So if you know folks interested in boxes or wanting to start their own subscription box programs and want to hire that out, reach out to bulugroup.com, follow pauljarrett.com on LinkedIn.
Is there a NicoleBauer.com yet?
Yeah, it's another Nicole. So
you could be the Nicole Bauer.
Maybe. I think for me, like there's an FDR quote that I really, really like he said, happiness lies in the joy of achievement and the thrill of creative effort. And really, that's what I look forward to every day. Every day I get a little bit done. And some days, whether that's signing a contract, whether that's shipping a shipment, whether it's getting a shark bobblehead manufactured, those are wins. And it's very fun to do that with friends. And, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Can you share a few of the projects you've worked on in the past, just so people kind of get the depth and breadth of everything you've done? Because it's a lot. You've worked on a lot of different programs and a lot of big brands.
All three of us you could start and let's all just ramble them all off because that'll be fun.
Sure. So
Shark Week box.
In no particular order, we did a one-time Shark Week 30th anniversary box, and part of that included we did all the marketing for that in-house. We did a lot of the product manufacturing.
Oh, that was really good marketing.
And we made a really cool transforming box. Like you turn the box inside out, so it looks like a crate, and then you transform it, and it looks like
into a shark. Crayola. We had a great, and I'll mind you, let me just say, like, none of these boxes are an individual person's output. Like, it's a collaboration.
Yeah. But you've had like a significant impact on these things.
Sure.
Yeah.
We had the Crayola box, the GNC Customer Loyalty Pro box. We
Giant Eagle
grocery, like, product category boxes. Yep. Oh, shoot. I really need to make a list of these.
I know, right? Yeah.
I was doing good without saying ums until you got me a question that I wasn't prepared for.
Did you work on the Loop Lab Kids Science Experiments box?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Also, you've been
though.
Straight up thrown into sales before, too.
Yeah. I like to wear many different hats. I feel like it's fun to learn new things. And two, they're all connected. So, like, I don't know, it all contributes in the end.
Yep. Also, produced plenty of content, has wrote just articles, pieces for us, hopped on this podcast. I don't know how much heads up you got for that. Let's see. I know there's plenty of HR stuff, whether it's the office or like the actual warehouse. I mean, just the process and operations and software with the warehouse. I'm trying to think of a category, other than taxes and maybe, hardcore software development, but that's definitely been over, as we get to kind of the 10-year mark at our company, like you're kind of hard pressed to find somebody that hasn't contributed a lot. But I would say that the common thread with Nicole is like, if something big comes on, we're like, we kind of like look to like a few spots, and Nicole is definitely one of the like top 3, and we're like, just give it to Nicole and like duck and run away, and like it'll work itself out,
Oh no, I hope you don't feel that way.
but like that's like the utmost like compliment, right?
Yeah, it's a vote of confidence. So thank you. Yeah.
So,
well, thank you both for having me on Box Talks today. It's been so much fun to hang out. Sorry about
Who do we have behind you?
Fat Cat Samantha, who's giving herself her afternoon bath. We'll just rotate there.
There you go. Perfect project manager. There you go.
This is actually her office, so it's I just rent space. So.
Thank you for joining, Nicole, because one, thank you for all you do for Bulu, first off, because it's a lot.
For sure.
And we're looking forward to all the new exciting things, and maybe another year from now we'll do this again on the podcast, and we'll see what new position you're in and what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say be ready to host one of these.
Ooh,
or co-host one of these pretty soon, I'm sure.
She'd be a great co-host.
Yeah,
we should just swap. She should be in my seat.
Well, I think we'll get to a point where like we can just have like rotating, co-hosts and whatever. So get ready for that.
A la Radio Lab.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So we absolutely appreciate everything you do. You're fantastic, and I highly encourage people to check out. I think you're contributing and developing, but a lot of the content that we've been pushing out, that Mariah and Nicole
on our blog and stuff,
there's like a box cadence, like there's some really good stuff. And I know there's a lot of materials out there, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say very few entities have launched like over 50 programs, shipping millions of boxes, like actually have the hands-on experience that we do. So I think, just as this year's rolled around and we're starting to promote content, I think that is one of the absolutely like valuable things that is just now people are starting to realize. And a lot of that is, people like Nicole, Mariah, Stephanie has done a lot. So check that out. We'll get thenicolebauer.com running, I'm sure. So at some point.
And hey, if what I have described today sounds exciting and hasn't turned you off, send me your resume. We'll probably be hiring in the future, and I will happy to peruse over any applicants that are interested in doing the kind of work I do.
Make sure you keep one slot open for a wild card.
Yes, Nicole at bulugroup.com. You can email those in.
Boom.
Yay.
Full circle. All right. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Samantha. Nicole Bauer. It's kind of crazy, like how, like, I'll just say it, like most people don't mature and develop and gain the experience, and like that definitely, it's still me. But like, you go to a job and it's like you kind of get slotted or whatever, and very few people kind of like grow with the company. And I'd argue that she's one of the people that are kind of like, leading that kind of growth and maturity. So yeah, that's cool to see, of like, some where we're at when she first joined the company and where we're at now, and just the level of trust. And you're like, dude,
yes.
like, how did we even get to this point? And that's really cool to see. So she's a special human for sure.
Yeah, she is. And all of our program managers, I think, have a lot of talent, and they do a lot of the things that Nicole was talking about. And so she's just one, I think, example of a lot of people we have in honestly a very challenging position. Yeah. Like you said, they're like mini CEOs. Yes. So when Nicole said, like, one of the things I love is that no day looks the same. If that's appealing to you, then this job might be exactly what you want. But it is, if you're more like, no, I want to know I'm turning this cog this way and this one that way every day, then this is not the right spot for you. She's
definitely, great point of like, our program managers, like they all have that common thread. And I think the reason that, just as other people get credit in different departments, like the reason, her name comes up and she gets a lot of credit is because like she was the first, and it was our biggest and arguably is still our biggest. Like she just got thrown into it, and she's still that, she's at the point now where it's like, you don't even throw her, like something big is cooking and she's like on the edge, ready to jump in, and it's just zero fearlessness. So, that's really cool. That's fun to see. So.
All right. Thank you for listening. This has been another episode of Box Talks with Bulu. I'm Stephanie Jarrett.
And I'm Paul Jarrett.
Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Here it is. That's all, folks.
Was that Bugs Bunny? No. Elmer Fudd? Who is it?
I don't know. Is it Porky Pig or Elmer Fudd?
Oh, is it Porky Pig?
I know. It's like, does he say hubba-da, hubba-da, hemina, hemina?